Well, let's talk politics now, because it's the politics that affects the policy that then eventually affects the economy, security, or what have you. And as you can see, we're joined by Interim National Coordinator of the Obedient Movement Worldwide, Dr. Unisa Tanko, from our Abuja studio. And joining us from Virginia, the USA, is a legal practitioner, Mr. Oluseyi Bisiriyu. Gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for joining us on the program. Naturally, I'll begin with Dr. Tanko. Right, I just want you to speak to the Supreme Court's ruling, which basically says, well, by setting aside the judgment recognizing Mr. Julius Abure as a Labour Party's national chairman, saying the court does not even have any reason to look into this matter at all. So it set aside the one recognizing him as the national chairman. So in one breath, you have political parties saying courts should not decide on issues that pertain to our internal affairs. But guess what? In the same vein, you have the same politicians, political leaders heading to the courts, filing cases. So the question is, what do politicians really want, particularly the ones in opposition parties? Because it looks like almost all of the opposition parties have some internal issues or the other. Mr. Tanko.
Okay, thank you very much for having me, Kaudi. Let me refer to Jonathan Day in his book while he was talking about the 14 principles of democracy. But because of wanting of time, I'm going to just talk about only 6 of them. 1 is talking about basic human rights. 2, talk about multi-political party democracy, which has to do with also with tolerance. And then talk about voting, transparent voting system. They talk about the rule of law and engagement. And you talk about the issue of good governance. And then lastly, citizen participation. I must tell you for sure, there are interest groups that goes in within the political party system in order to erode this particular principle just because of personal interest. And of course, these things happen within the political system. So it's not about a political party in particular, it's about those who are in position of power, who try to railroad into what democracy actually pretends and protect. And that is the reason why some of us who decide to respect the rule of law, as his case may be, tends to be in a position of defect. And then we only look for succor in the courts of the land. And while it is important to state the fact that, yes, the political parties have their constitution and rules which must be followed into, don't forget the constitution of the political parties got its standing from the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, including the manifestos of the political party. All of them comes from the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So they are being seen to be protected by the Constitution of Nigeria, daring. In that case, some of the activities that are within the Constitution is actually rule of law on its own. I'll give you a simple example. When you say that internal democracy happens within the political party, it has its guiding principles, it has its laws, and it must be adhered to. Even if the court may say that they may not interfere with the activities of the political party, but there are basic needs that they will make pronouncement on. Like the case in the court now, who says that we must respect the political party's constitution. And so whether that particular constitution is being followed into is another matter entirely. But all I'm trying to say here is that the rule of law guards the political party's activities, as the case may be.
You are in the United States, and Jeffrey and I, when we started the show this morning, we were talking about how we've had, 2 political party heads, 2 people jostling for a position. We've had 2 emirs jostling for the same position, even 2 budgets. There's always some jostling, one jostling or the other. And for someone like you who has had the opportunity to taste of both worlds in that sense, What would you say is the difference? Because in other climes, you realize that it's not really that do or die affair. You hardly find people laying claims, two people laying claims to the Democratic Party's leadership or Republican Party leadership. So why is our case peculiar, if I could say that?
Thank you for having me. I think that we cannot remove the historical perspective of our own political landscape, how it began. Mostly, the fact that AG Action Congress in 1951, and NCNC and the Northern People Congress, this set of parties started mostly the foundation of politics in Nigeria. And some of the actions taken at that time were taken because of the colonial masters, Richard Constitution, and the fact that there were so many underdevelopment in the country at that time. So the likes of Awolowo, which is the action group, when they started their political party, they made sure that they had certain things in place. They wanted to make sure that the political party had action. They wanted to make sure that the political party had discipline. And also there was some form of secrecy, basically because they were scared of the veracity of Dr. Azikwe's propaganda against the new party for Western region at that time. Now, drawing from that, we can say that there is a cultural element to how parties are run in Nigeria. And so far, those elements has not really changed. Now, the 1999 Constitution, incorporated in Section 40 the freedom of peaceful assembly and expression. And based on that peaceful assembly of expression, it gives INEC the power to, conduct elections and some other powers that gives it rights to manage political parties. The constitution itself of each party draws its power from these rights. And when some of their dispute resolution mechanism fails, which is not the same in America, those dispute, because the politics here is over 200 years, most of this thing has been entrenched into a system where all these internal disputes are managed properly without it going out to the courts in most cases. But because we are still a little bit younger in the African polity, it is easier to find stakeholders riding on certain rights, and freedom of expression is mostly what is the problem in most of these political or internal politics, like the APC Malami case, where Malami had to go to court in order to force the APC to accept certain,
Yeah, you can just land on your thought in 10 seconds so we can, I can ask more questions.
Okay. So the point I'm saying is that historically, Americans have a way of settling the dispute, and the Africans have a way of doing it because we are still young in it, and we cannot remove that from our politics.
Let me bring it to you, Dr. Tanko. Two things I want to say to build up to the question. One of the reasons why the military set up the SDP and the NRC before the 1993 elections was to make sure that we don't have money bags taking over political parties, people claiming to be founding fathers and having godfathers, but that is what is prevalent today. So that's why it looks like whatever the military under General Babangida rather wanted to achieve has now been eroded, because we now have national leaders, people that have a sense of ownership of these political parties. But my question, I will take my question from one of the contributory judgments in the Rivers incident that happened earlier this year. And that came from Justice Iheme, where she said, the law is trite that the court will not inquire into the membership of a political party being their internal affairs. She cited a case law This court held that membership of a political party is a matter that is strictly within the domestic affairs of a political party, and the courts have no jurisdiction to determine who the members of a political party are. It is not justiciable. Also citing another case law, Tumbito and INEC in 2023, versus INEC rather, where this court also held that political parties are supreme over their own affairs, and no court can inquire into the issue of membership and leadership of political parties. The question of membership of a political party are outside the purview of a court's jurisdiction. Now, this looks like within the premise of membership and leadership, but we can expand it to other things. People have seen this to say, the court is not leaving. Let me ask, when you see this kind of judgment from, say, the apex court, is this not falling into the same hands? Or because this looks like, solve your problem, we don't have jurisdiction over your issue, so this is now putting the money bags, the people with the war chest, to run the affairs of the political parties. Those who don't have it are automatically marginalized and ostracized. So with this premise, how can everybody have a sense of belonging in a political party?
Okay, thank you very much. The major problem we have in our laws, yes, the laws are good, but the major problem is enforcement. Enforcement, and I reiterate that word, enforcement. If within the political party we have rules of engagement, and where those particular engagement rules are being found to be fouled by individuals, of course, there must be enforcement. The court, the court will not run away from the issue of enforcement of your own laws. Once you bring the issues out, based on the constitution of the party, the laws of the land must be adjudicated to, and at the same time, you enforce that particular position of the constitution. That would not be seen as if you are interfering. I say I'm going to do A, B, C, based on the constitution that brought me and you together, and I fail to do that based on that particular constitution, I will be found liable. So we need to enforce these particular laws, even within the political parties. So in that case, we will have little challenge. I am of the opinion, a strong one too, about most of our cases being, there has been an interference by our courts. It shouldn't be, because most of the things should have been done according to the regulations that we put to ourselves. And then the only thing that the court can do is just to interpret and enforce those particular laws that we put in within the system. And when you are making references to SDP and NRC days and all, the supreme body or leadership of a political party are actually the leaders of the political party. In fact, if you are an elected member, you are supposed to be just like any ordinary member when it comes to meetings. But when you go out, then you can now exhibit your power as an executive or an elected person. That means they are disciplined within the political party. But you see, back in those days, most of the political party derive their funding from members. Members can easily pay membership dues, and then they held accountable those who are in position of leadership. But nowadays, it is not seen at that particular level. Many of the political party leaders who are elected using the platform of the political party become lords in the political party rather than becoming members. And if you look at the economic indices during those periods and this time, you see that there's a very large difference. So there must be a way in which the political party members own the political party, not those who have found themselves in the political party to owning the party. That's where you find the interference of good fatherism and those money bags.
Well, Mr. Tanko, speaking of interference, I'd like us to look at the case that has been playing out in your party, right? So we had last year, Mr. Peter Obi and Governor Alex Otti back in a caretaker leadership arrangement headed by Nnamdi Usman. In the same vein, you had Mr. Julius Abure first saying that Nnamdi Usman was not even a member of the Labour Party, and wondering why Mr. Peter Obi and Governor Alex Otti will go ahead to, back such arrangement of a caretaker committee, and that spiraled into court cases and counter court cases. So, I mean, even looking at the context of your old party, the Labour Party, you have some of these issues that people will say, well, it's meant to be a straightforward thing, right? There is a chairman. A convention was conducted. Mr. Peter Obi did not attend. The same people that were friends together, now everybody went to court and relationship has been seared in that sense. So maybe you speak to that case of your own party, the Labour Party. Is that a case of a money bag? Is that a case of interference? What exactly played out there to affect the internal party politics or democracy that you speak about?
I will only speak to the facts of what ought to be in a political system. And that's what I alluded to ab initio. Once there are laws, every laws are supposed to be respected. And those particular laws are clearly spelled out. When there is breach, it is left for the political party themselves and the leaders of the political party. Then the enforcement part of the law must to be seen to be done free and fairly to all concerned. That is the basic truth. And once that is done, you will find out we have less stress in all the political parties that you mentioned. It's not Labour Party alone. There are so many other political parties that are having challenges. But because there is a way in which those in government are not enforcing the laws, now it makes all of it look so watery and ineffective. So when there is a judgment, effect the judgment, effect the push, make sure that judgment is being made and then it's being enforced. Then we'll have a peaceful society, especially in our democratic system.
So, Dr. Tanko, at the moment, who is leading the Labour Party?
Well, the decisions of the court, like our principal, have respect for the courts. Anytime there's a pronouncement by the court, he makes sure that he respects the position of the court. So at the moment now, the position of the court is what we will respect. We will follow due diligence, and as Democrats, democracy, as I said earlier on, one of the pillars of democracy and principle is the respect of rule of law and order. And we will respect rule of law of order.
Mr. Tanko, I don't think it's a difficult question. I'm asking for a name. Who is a chairman or lead in that sense of the party right now? That's my question, actually.
And I'm giving you an answer, a direct answer. The position of the court is what we'll follow.
So the position of the court doesn't give a name between Nena de Usman and Julius Abure?
The position of the court is saying that certain aspect of the position is clear. So when the decision will be made by the party, it will be pronounced.
Okay. Let's take it to a guest in the U.S. So I just needed to ask you that. I needed to ask Mr. Tanko that question. So you see how, the Nigerian politics plays out when it comes to interpretation of laws. In fact, a classic case was the PDP case. The Supreme Court made a decision. Before we knew, the National Publicity Secretary said that Ode Okoye is still in charge. The court has affirmed him because part of the maybe obiter dictum or whatever, the Lord Justice has said parties have to make their own decision. On the other hand, we also saw Samayan coming out, it's Samayan, and then eventually they made their decision. So I want you to speak to the issue of multiple interpretation of judgment of court when it comes to leadership of political parties. Because in Nigeria, I can tell you for free, it's sometimes laughable and embarrassing.
Yeah, I think that most of the time, the court will want to defer back to the efficacy of the constitution of the party. And it is only basically because this party gained their powers from the constitution directly. And sometimes some pronouncement from the court might just contradict these fundamental rights that basically, like I said, freedom of expression, right to freedom of assembly, and all other components of being in a political party. Now, APC has found a way to create 7 levels of appellate jurisdiction within its constitution. And the exhaustive nature of these levels helps to limit the amount of cases or disputes that are being taken out of the party to the courts. And they have it all the way from the ward level to the local government, the state, zonal, they have and all the way to the National Executive Committee. And they even gave some powers to the National Executive Committee to pull cases away from lower level appellate jurisdiction so that they can resolve most of these disputes internally. And I think that may be missing in some of the smaller or other parties, in the sense that they don't have exhaustive mechanism to keep disputes within the confines of the political party. And I think that if that is the case, and for instance, even in Article 21 of the APC Constitution says that if you take a case out of to the courts without first exhausting all this mechanism, you are automatically expelled.
So just before you land on your thoughts, just as we land, we have about 30 seconds. I've seen what you articulated. Are you saying that this strong, okay, let me ask it differently. This strong position, is it because they are following, because it's the same politicians we're talking about here. Literally all of them are just, politicians have personal ideology, not political ideologies. I think we have agreed to that effect. So Are you saying that, because APC has not been tested out of power as a party, they came as different groups to form the APC, as a party. PDP has now been out of power for close to 10 years, so we can now see how they behave, how they perform. So are you saying this because they are still in power, that's why this structure seems to hold? Or you feel it is going to hold even if they leave power?
I think the fear of expulsion from a party that holds power, yes, the fact that they have power kind of encourage people to keep matters within the power. But I think that when you have so much level of mechanism like this, at some point you get resolution. And if you don't have, if it's too minimal, there is a tendency to feel cheated and say that there is a breach of your constitutional rights and you want the court to come and save you and say, hey, court, talk to me, help me out with these people. But when you have exhaustive options like this, to a certain extent, you will find a way to resolve it in-house. Right. And I think it's just a human nature thing. It's not necessarily because they have power.
There you go. Would like to thank you so much, gentlemen. But Mr. Tanko, quickly, is it true that Mr. Peter Obi is in talks to join the SDP? Former presidential candidate of the SDP said that yesterday. Is in talks to join the SDP?
As far as I'm concerned, His Excellency Peter Obi is a member of the Labour Party. It remains so until when there is any other thing that may come up. As I speak to you right now, there is going to be a meeting, possibly within the week, by the leaders of the party to make fundamental positions clear to everyone. And I think in line with the position of the Supreme Court ruling. And that, of course, will put the whole matter to rest.
So he's not in those talks. So the former presidential candidate, Mr. Adebayo, was not telling the truth. Is that what you're saying?
As I'm telling you, as far as I know, Peter Obi is a member of the Labour Party as of this morning.
Well, my question was quite clear, but we have to thank you so much, Dr. Yunusa Tanko, Interim National Coordinator of the Obedient Movement Worldwide. I know these are very interesting times as we build up to 2027, but thank you for your time, as well as Mr. Oluseyi Bisiriyu, legal practitioner, who joined us from Virginia. Thank you for staying awake for this conversation. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too, sir.
We'll take a quick break now. When we return, we'll be joined by amazing women doing great stuff. Oh yes, women in business and leadership is next on the program. Stay with us.